Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Toilets and Titles. My name is Justin Stevens. We're back at you with another episode of the flagship show on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. You see a familiar face here with me, but it's not our typical normal familiar face. We're going to get to introducing Joe in just a moment. But first, a word from our sponsor, Rival.
For those that aren't already aware, Rival Fantasy is the newest evolution in fantasy sports. Rival's all-in-one fantasy platform has changed the fantasy sports landscape. From fantasy bingo, where you mark off boxes of achievements that your players accomplish on the field, to season-long and best ball leagues, to mock drafts and challenges, and more. They have the perfect user-friendly website and app for you. So send a challenge to your friend or send a challenge to your rival and tell them to put their money where their mouth is. But your first deposit of up to $200 will be matched, plus an additional $25 just for using that link, joinrival.com/titletribe. That's joinrival.com/titletribe.
And we've got Pete in the house. He's ready to go. And Pete, as always, we appreciate your donation. It seems like you do that every single show. You really don't have to, but we'll take it. It is going towards the Canton Fund. For those of you that want to donate, just hit that little money emblem, money sign logo that's right by the comments section there. And before you send the awesome comments to Joe or the crappy comments to me, you're welcome to send one of those nice little donations. We appreciate you, Pete. And that's got me wanting to talk about the website as well, toiletstotitles.com, where you can see all the NFL draft content. The upcoming NFL draft episode that we're going to have live running during the NFL draft. Our dynasty rankings will be on the website. Our IDP rankings are already on the website. And of course, you can sign up for Frankensteak on the website. And every time I talk about the website and you kind of wonder about the guys behind the screen, we have several of those that help out with the website. But our main editor is with us tonight. And that's the guy I'm going to introduce. That's Joey. Joe knows. He knows everything. You're going to find out how much he knows about college football in a little bit. But for now, Joey, how's it going today, buddy?
It's going great, man, and it feels great to be here, Justin. Haven't been on the flagship program in a while. Been working hard and heavy with the draft team behind the scenes here at Toilets and Titles. We've been putting up a whole bunch of draft profiles like the past 6 months. If not longer, but it's definitely heated up over the past, ever since the end of the Super Bowl. And so, this is accumulated knowledge digging in, like with me and Coach Sheps, Ephraim, otherwise known as at Mr. Irrelevant, and a few of the new guys as well that have joined us, like Dynasty Dog Mike and AJ Cola, Charlie Prio. So we got a team that's been working on these draft profiles, and I'm really excited and happy to talk about, picks for each of the teams that you put on the list over here.
Right on, man. And the people may not necessarily know you from the website, because that is one of those thankless jobs where you really only get thanked by me and Coach on a regular basis for all the work you do. But they absolutely know you from Giants Corner. So what's the latest on the Giants Corner? What's the next episode?
I gotta fire it up. I've been saying you've been asking me the last few episodes that I've been on with you, regardless of what show it's been saying, yeah, I'm gonna start it up soon. And I gotta start it up soon. I have to admit, I kind of lost my mojo with the team. Got tired of talking about the third string quarterback at the end of the season. And there was just so much. There was so much. I mean, I love the guy. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't exactly driving me to make content anymore. So, but we do have the draft coming up. Right now, it feels like a directionless team. I'm just unsure. What I want to say. I guess maybe I'll just talk about how directionless I feel they are right now. They're kind of like in purgatory right now.
Well, I'm sorry, man. I feel like I brought up some bad memories.
Soon. No, it is what it is. Hey, listen, I got to work through it. That's what a strong person does.
I want to thank our man Will for generously sending me this hat, this Toilets and Titles hat, T2T Network hat.
Love it.
We appreciate your work as well, Will. Will is actually moving on from the team. He's taken on more responsibilities and a promotion at work. Dude, congratulations. It's one of those things we all strive to be a little better, and you're doing it, man. So keep living that life. But in the meantime, if you ever want to keep sending me free merch, I will always gladly accept it. Let's see, what do we got on the docket so far? I do want to remind everybody at the end of this episode, or close to the end of the episode, we're going to be giving away a $50 Fanatics gift card. That's right. We're giving away more of Coach's money, a $50 Fanatics gift card to a random person that commented on the on our Twitter handle. That's at Toilets Titles on Twitter. And we had a post going. If you comment now, you're too late. I've already created the wheel, so I'm not doing it. I'm not going to redo it for this episode. But yeah, so all you had to do was like, comment, and share, and you were going to win a $50 Fanatics gift card. And so, like I said, the wheel's updated. We're going to do that towards the end of the show. Before that, let's get into the news. So what I'm going to do here, Joe, is I'm going to read you what the rule is, and then I kind of want your stance on this. So the first one, kind of not that big of a deal. Instant replay before, if you won both of your instant replays, then you got a third replay. Now you only have to win one of the two to get a third replay. And then I'm also going to go ahead and tie in that they can now review roughing the passer and intentional grounding as well. So the refs are able to review those two calls in particular. What do you think about the instant replay changes that they've made this for this 2024 season?
I mean, I like it a lot because I do like the idea of getting more chances to get it right. Look, obviously we all want the game to move along, right? But you need to get calls right. I don't mind the idea of another challenge. I like that a lot. I think it's really, really good. The refs being able to review roughing the passer, I think that's great because I think we all know that there's way too many intentional, too many bad roughing the passer calls, in my opinion. I think in everyone's opinion, really, especially when you're going up against a quarterback who's an elite quarterback, and it seems like they're protected, too much by the refs for the sake of the game, of course. And intentional grounding, yeah, sounds good, but I really like the reviewing, roughing the passer. I like that a lot, so I'm cool. What I'd like to see is more refs either on the field or in a skybox watching things in order to get plays more, calls correct. I'd like to load it up with refs either again more on the field or more in the box in the sky.
Yeah, I like that. What that reminds me of is kind of what they've done where they have the refs in New York that can help with certain plays and overrule or call in that something needs to be reviewed. That's kind of like what you're talking about, but to have like eyes in the sky right there at the stadium, yeah, that absolutely would be very helpful. Or like they always have a couple of backup referees already there just in case something happens. Why not put them to work while they're there?
I want them all over the place.
Yeah, I feel you. And that's why I've got the referee with me today, actually, because of this news that we're talking about. Now, the next two rules are actually potentially big time rules here. So they wanted to bring back the kickoff in a way where there were actually returns being made, but they also wanted to continue to keep down the injuries on the kickoff. So I'm just going to read for you what I wrote up earlier. The NFL's new kickoff rule is that the kicking team gets to punt from their own 35-yard line. The other 10 players on the kicking team and not at least 9 of the players on the returning team will all line up 5 yards from each other. The receiving team will line up on their own 35, while the kicking team will line up on the opponent's 40. So they're within 5 yards of each other, and none of these players can move until it gets to the returner. And what they mean by that is either the returner touches the ball or the ball touches the ground, meaning that none of the players will be going full speed at the time that the returner has an opportunity to make a play on the ball. But we should at least see more returns, because touchbacks on the new kickoff rule is going to be brought back up to the receiving team's 30-yard line now. So this should really help to incentivize the punters punting the ball into a more returnable situation. This was approved on a 1-year trial only. So we're only going to see it for 2024, and then it has to be revoted on again next year if they're going to keep it. And then, again, this is something they adapted from the XFL. This is something the XFL did. And when it was with the XFL, returns were up and injuries were down. So with that new kickoff rule, you and I are both old school. Like, we've been watching football for a really long time. I'm interested to see if we have the same thoughts on this.
I love it because I do like a return game. Special teams needs to mean something, so I really love it. And I do like the idea. I also don't want to see players getting injured. Like, it is probably the most violent part of the game, our kick returns and punt returns. And a lot of times you'll see, obviously, on a punt return, kick return, it's almost like, well, especially punt returns, of course, but and I know that I guess this is really more the kick, but you do oftentimes see, like, the defenders, like, right there almost in the guy. They're so fast these days, that all players are so fast, special teams players. These are your linebackers, your safeties, your cornerbacks, even wide receivers. These guys are fast, and they're down like in the in the returner's face, as he's catching the ball. So I'm glad to see it. I love it. I think, when you got a really good return game, a good returner, it's a lot of fun. It really is. So I'm glad to see. I remember there were just real quick, there were arguments being bandied about, fans who were saying they should just get rid of the kick and return, the kick and punt return game altogether. I never agreed with that. So I like this. I'm really excited to see, and that's also a benefit of the XFL and in the USFL is they can have some different rules, just like college. And you can adapt them, if they've got something better going on there, you can adapt it. So I think it's really cool. I'm very happy about it.
So I want to address a comment here by Mark. He said that onside kick is the surprise onside kick is effectively dead, and you have to announce it now. I don't think that really matters. It was only effective 5.6% of the time last year. It was already not very effective because of how they couldn't overload one side or the other, and when they did line up, it was pretty obvious they were like, I get they can't try to surprise them. And to your point, Mark, that 5.6% of the time, probably a lot of that was from a surprise onside kick. So yeah, that does kind of stink, but I don't see a way with the new rule to be able to squeak in a surprise onside kick. So unfortunately, that does completely kill it. You're absolutely right about that. Pete says so many penalties at kickoffs are going to be annoying and delay the game. I can kind of see that because I was watching the replay of some of the XFL kickoff plays that they recorded and they were posting on Twitter today. And I mean, the players are none of them are full speed, but they are lined up 5 yards apart from each other. So the returning or the kicking team is going to see which side of the field the ball's going on, and but so can the offensive side. They can watch it as the ball's flying over their head. So both sides are going to know where the ball's going, essentially, because there's enough of a distance between them and the kick returner. So you're going to see those angles being met. I could definitely see a lot of holding penalties and I don't know if they still aren't going to allow a wedge or for players to hold hands to try to block, but you might see some double and triple teaming on the blocks. I don't know if that's going to be allowed anymore because none of that was announced to have gone away. So I'm assuming it's all still going to be there.
We will see.
All right. And the final rule here that I wanted to talk about is, to me, probably the biggest one, and that's the no hip drop tackles. So both former and current NFL players, primarily defensive players, of course, are very vocal about how much this will be a detriment to the league. J.J. Watt said, just fast forward to the belts and flags on them. Referring that this may as well be flag football. And then Pat McAfee says, everybody seems to be pissed and for good reason. Julian Edelman says, let's see, he says, there are two sides to this. I'm all for player safety and hip drop tackles are dangerous. But on the other hand, how is a defensive player supposed to tackle if we take away every single method of tackling? which is also a very good point. This is already a league that's very much pro offense, and now we're taking away even another potential way for the players to tackle. So I don't know. What do you think of this rule?
We'll see. I mean, Edelman's saying it's, hey, it's dangerous and we'll see how it goes and everything. But I mean, I don't know, how dangerous is it? Like, how are people getting torn ACLs from this? I never realized this was a problem. And I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But I mean, it just seems like, listen, it's going to take some time, I think, for defensive players to get used to it, because it seems like a natural thing to me. Oftentimes you're falling to the ground and as you're grabbing the guy's hips and you're using your weight and your strength to bring him down. So we'll see. It's going to take, I think, some time for defenders to get used to this, but I don't know. I think what they may want to do, listen, you did get injuries from stuff like this when I was growing up in the 1980s. And sorry to pull back in my day, but it's freaking true. I think the real problem is that these players are they all have 3 ounces of body fat on them. They're working out like year round this all the time now. It's like they've got I think they're too big for their joints. They're too big for their tendons. I think that's the problem. You didn't have all these injuries when I was growing up. I think they're too big and too fast. They're too jacked up. And I think that's the real problem. Maybe they should have some sort of ban on working out so much in the off season. I think that's the problem. But what do I know? I'm just Joe Knows.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously know. It's right there in the name. But I agree with you completely. I don't know, kind of upsetting. Sorry, I had to leave the screen for a little bit. Had some technical difficulty and some four-legged furry friends that were kind of at my feet. So had to take care of some business there. But all right, let's roll into the main meat of the topic for tonight. I wanted to talk about a new article that Joe and I are coming out with together. It's going to be a tandem article. I came up with an idea to give out a team and some of the positions that I think are their biggest positional needs. And then Joe did all the tough work from there. He did all the dirty work. He took a potential player that could be there at that spot that's going to fill at least one of those needs. In some cases, a couple of the needs, if you're referring to kind of a tight end / wide receiver talent, or a guard that can shift to center and that sort of stuff. So we have some players that might fill a couple of needs on this list too. But I'm going to start off at the top with the Chiefs. We're going to get through as much of this list as we can. But when I say the top, obviously I mean the Super Bowl winners. We're going to start with pick number 32 and work our way back. So the Chiefs have, and maybe not work back in the pick order, but just kind of in the order that I have listed here. I'm going to start with what I think are the top competitors. The Chiefs have the 32nd pick. In my mind, I feel like they need an offensive tackle, a guard, and then I put more offensive linemen. I feel like that offensive line is their biggest weakness, and then a running back. So, Joe, who's the player that you have slotted for them to potentially get with that 32 pick to help them out?
Yeah, and you know what? Hats off to the Chiefs, who obviously won 2 Super Bowls in a row, but they did a really nice job of revamping their offensive line a few years ago. But it is kind of time to, you're right, Justin, it is time to, add some more juice and some more new young bodies to the offensive line. And that organization knows what it's doing. And the thing about this 2024 draft class is that it's probably historically the deepest draft class on the offensive side of the ball that I can remember. And it's loaded with top end quarterbacks, loaded with top end wide receivers, and it's loaded with probably even more loaded with offensive linemen. And here's a guy I see realistically being available. I think in most draft classes he'd probably be going sooner, but given how deep this draft class is in the offensive line, at pick 32 for the Chiefs, I've got them taking. Give me a chance with it, because I always slaughter the last name. Offensive tackle Kingsley Suamataia. I think that's how it's pronounced. Suamataia, out of BYU. Yeah, out of BYU. Now this guy, he's a pure tackle. This guy was on everyone's radar last year. They were looking forward to him coming out this year. So this guy wasn't just like a 1 year. Like a Marius Mims, who kind of burst on the scene, who we're going to get to much later. This guy was, people were looking forward to him coming out in the draft, out of BYU. 6'4", 326 pounds. He's got great size and length and mass. He carries it very, very well. And he's very strong and he's a pretty good athlete. He's a refined offensive lineman. Like, he's pretty much plug and play. He's not someone who's going to have to ride the bench for like the first half of his rookie season. He's ready to go. And at pick 32, like I said, normally in most draft classes, this guy would be going earlier than this, but there's so many good offensive tackles and guards going in the first round that I think there's a good chance he's going to be that number 32 for the Chiefs.
And if he is, as you say, plug and play, then that's really what you want from a first-round pick. If you do take him in the first round, you kind of want them to be able to start at some point their rookie season. So, and then, dude, seriously, 6'4", 326 pounds. Like he essentially is taking up two spots. He can play both the guard and the tackle at the same time with that size.
Yeah. And I don't have his wingspan in here, but he does have a very he's got a huge wingspan. And again, he's like, like most tackles, like you could probably move him to guard. I don't think off the top of my head, I don't think he really played any guard at BYU, but if he doesn't work at tackle, obviously you can try him inside, but I think this guy is going to work out a tackle just fine.
Right on. The 49ers have pick 31. I put down that they look to me like they could use an edge rusher, maybe a defensive tackle. And then, like, there's not a whole lot of deep holes on that team. So I kind of thought maybe a tight end behind George Kittle to help get primed and ready. But what direction did you go with here?
You know what? I like the tight end. I just like the only first round tight end value in my mind is Brock Bowers, and there's no way he's falling to pick number 31. I do like Sanders out of Texas, who's probably tight end 2 in this class, I think, according to most people, and in my mind as well. But I don't see him going in the first round. Here's a player who the 49ers are, love to build up their defense. They're a very good offensive-minded team. Obviously, they're very effective. They have a very stout and strong defense. And here's a guy that I don't think he's necessarily going to be there at pick 31, but listen, I think there's a realistic chance he could be. And I think if our guy Ephraim Geller, otherwise known as Mr. Irrelevant over here at Tell Us the Titles, if they landed this guy, I think Ephraim would be doing cartwheels down the hallway at his university. And that is defensive tackle Byron Murphy II out of Texas. 6 foot, 297 pounds. Quick notes on this guy is twitchy. He's got a quick burst off the line. He's extremely strong, uses his leverage very, very well. He eats up double teams. And the reason why I like him for the 49ers, if he were to make it, because I think he's probably defensive tackle number 2 in this class. He may even go defensive tackle number 1, but he'll probably be the second one off the board. I think he can be flexed out to defensive end. So that's why I think he'd be a nice fit for the 49ers. This guy is rowdy. He plays really, really hard. Any team that winds up with Byron Murphy is going to love this guy. He was part of an awesome tandem at Texas this year with Tavondre Sweat, and just probably the best interior defensive line duo in college football this past season.
Well, it's a good thing that you say that there is a deep offensive line group with this year's draft, because I've noticed a trend with a lot of these, especially second half teams that are drafting in the second half of the first round. A lot of them need some offensive line help, and that's no different with pick 30 with the Ravens. Guard, tackle, and I put safety down just because they're definitely lacking some depth at the safety spot. But you went with the guard, so another offensive lineman here.
Yeah, and you know what? I think he's got Ravens written all over him because he's a really tough guy. But like you said, in terms of team needs for the Ravens, guard, tackle, Graham Barton actually played left tackle at Duke. He also played center, and he projects best to be a guard in the NFL. So this is a guy who's bringing versatility, and so he was very successful at left tackle and center at Duke. High-end player, high IQ player. This is a guy who's plays through the whistle, plays with tenacity and ferociousness, will basically drive the opponent into the ground. And I see the Ravens as a very tough physical team. That's why I think he's a perfect fit. But the versatility alone, high-end versatility too. Played left tackle very well, played center very well. I have no doubt if they want to play him at guard, which is what he best projects at, he's going to play it very well. So, Graham Barton he's going to go, I think, somewhere in the 20s in this draft class. But if he falls to pick number 30 at the Ravens, they hit a home run, in my opinion.
Right on. The Lions, pick number 29. I said they probably need defensive tackle, some cornerback help, edge rusher, and then maybe a wide receiver because they have good talent at the high end of their wide receivers, just not a lot of depth. Where'd you go?
Yep. For pick number 29, listen, I love their head coach, Campbell, and the Lions have stocked up over the past few years on some really good offensive players. And they haven't all worked out, like that wide receiver I think they took from Alabama like 2 years ago, but quite a few of them have. They do have, Amon-Ra St. Brown. They've got the running back that they drafted last year. They got Laporta, who they drafted last year. I think they're going to want to stay physical and go on the defensive side of the ball. Now, this player, he's my defensive tackle number. I think he's everyone's defensive tackle number one in this draft class. I don't know if he's really going to make it there. But it's pick number 29. But I could see the Lions wanting to go defense, wanting to go physical, and Jajan Newton, a defensive tackle out of Illinois, gives them that. He's kind of like Elijah Cansey light. I wouldn't say he's as good as Elijah Cansey, but he's very much like Elijah Cansey. He's got like the same build, the same size. This dude is lightning fast off the line. And he shoots, like I say in my notes here, he shoots through the gaps. He's strong, but he's not big. And Elijah Cansey is the same way. Very strong, very powerful, very fast, very jarring with his hands and his moves on the interior. So I could see Dan Campbell and the Lions wanting to stock up on defense a little bit, strengthen that line, their defensive line even more. And if Jajan Newton is there, that's got to be the pick, in my opinion. Pick number 29, if he can actually make it there. I run mock draft simulations quite often, and he does fall that far sometimes. And so I'm like, you know what, I'm going to cheat here a little bit. I'd say like 30% of the times he falls in the draft simulations, and I'm kind of cheating a little bit because I wanted to give him to the Lions.
Well, me from the Fun Day draft. I have no problem with cheating at least a little bit.
You're the worst. You're such a big cheater.
So here's the thing about Newton, though. If he's a really good player, but he plays in the Big Ten, is he still a really good player?
Illinois has produced some really good players over the past few seasons. I like Illinois players. We get some real studs. Same thing of South Carolina Gamecocks the same way. Like they produce every draft class. They've got some big, like really, really good players coming out, even though the team isn't necessarily great. Like their team record isn't great.
That was just a shot. It was a cheap shot. All right.
You just hate Illinois because you're from Indiana.
I said Big Ten, so all of our teams are in the Big Ten too. It was a shot at ourselves. All right, so the Bills, pick 28. I'm excited about the one that you chose here because I think this is a perfect fit. I said that they needed a wide receiver, and I almost left it at that just to kind of force you to take a wide receiver and hope that it was this wide receiver. All of the mocks that we've been doing for the T2T community mock drafts that you can see the results of on our website, toiletstiles.com, or on our Twitter feed. I actually got to draft for the Bills on one of those, and I was able to get this player for them. But I'll also say that they could use some help at safety, edge, and defensive tackle. But you went exactly where I was trying to wish it into existence. Tell us the player that you took right here, wide receiver for the Bills, with that pick number 28.
Wide receiver Ladd McConkey out of Georgia. Yes, they can go different routes. And you know what? At this point, there's a decent chance that McConkey isn't even there for them at that pick. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes around pick 20, 22. He is outside of maybe the big three wide receivers in this draft class, and that's Marvin J. Harrison, Neighbors, and Adunza. He's probably the most complete wide receiver in this draft class. This guy is a route technician. He's speedy. He's quick. He's fast. He knows how to pick up the speed and turn off the speed in order to throw off cornerbacks. And like I think I just said, a second ago, he's like a pristine route runner. This dude is a finished product. Buffalo needs another wide receiver. I love having drafting defenders and having a good defense, but they've been going too long. Gabriel Davis unfortunately hasn't panned out the way I think most of us thought he would. But Ladd McConkey is, yeah, and so they need. He's perfect if he's even there, and he could be. There's a 50-50 chance he's there for Buffalo. I think it's realistic that he's there, but honestly, after the big 3 wide receivers in the draft class. For me, it's probably, and I'd say for most of us on the draft team here at Tulsa Titles, I'd say it's probably Ladd McConkey is our wide receiver for this draft class, along with, I'd say Ladd McConkey is probably our wide receiver 4 in this draft class. But he's plug and play, game 1. He's going to be ready to go. This guy.
Well, I'm not even on the draft team, and I put him on the thumbnail for this episode along with Byron Murphy. So I'm definitely a fan, but it also could be because I listen a lot to our draft team analysis. So maybe you guys have steered me in that direction, but that's okay. I'm an impressionable young lad. And then we've got Jerry in the chat as well. What's up, Jerry? Welcome to the show. Let's see. The last one in this grouping where I said the top level competitors, I'm going to go with the Texans here at pick number 42. And I said that they probably need a guard, center, maybe an edge. And where did you go with this?
I went with all right. So the Texans don't have a first round pick because I think they traded it last year in order to get their. They had 2 first round picks last year, and they traded away this year's first round pick in order to make that move on what was it, Anderson, the defensive end they took after taking Stroud. Anyway, so who I gave, and this is someone I think should realistically be there. And I've seen a lot of mock drafts that this guy, he's kind of projected as going the 3rd round. I actually think he's 2nd round value, and that's defensive lineman Brandon Dorless out of Oregon. He's a big guy. The reason why I like Dorless for Houston is Houston runs a base 4-3 defense, and Brandon Dorless is perfect for that. He's defensive end size. He's not. You might see him described as an edge in like write-ups. He's not an edge. He's a defensive end. An edge to me, an edge is really an outside linebacker who can effectively rush the passer, but could also drop back into coverage. Brandon Dorless is a defensive end. Think like Michael Strahan is a Giants fan here. I'm a Giants fan, as you can tell by the Giants stuff on the wall there. He's 6'3", 283 pounds. And I have in my notes here that he reminds me of Karlaftis, but he's bigger and stronger. This guy is going to be he's going to be a 3-down player. He plays the run very, very well. And for a player coming out of college, he's a pretty advanced technician. There's not too much. Every player needs some polish when they're in the NFL. He doesn't need all that much, in my opinion. And I just think for a 4-3 defense, you could also, if the Texans were loaded up at say pass rusher, Brandon Dorless at his size, you can bust in inside a defensive tackle and bring like a NASCAR package. So I think Brandon Dorless, I think it's like the value is perfect for Brandon Dorless at pick 42. For the Texans, and he'd be a great fit for the defense.
For the record, though, a NASCAR helmet would look a lot nicer than a Texans helmet. But I'm going to take an opportunity here to boost up our Patreon a little bit. We are giving away a Bijan Robinson autographed jersey. If you are a Patreon member at the MVP level, you're already in with 1 free entry. If you're a Patreon member at the Hall of Fame level, then you're in for 2 free entries. But you can buy extra entries, and you don't have to be a Patreon to buy the extra entries. They are $5 for 1 extra entry, $10 for 3 extra entries, and $20 for 10 extra entries. You can donate by hitting that button that we talked about earlier. That's right next to the comments here on the YouTube channel. For those of you that have joined later, if you donate at least $5, $10, or $20, you'll get those respective amounts of extra entries. And then also you can send it to our PayPal. Our PayPal username is our Gmail account. So it's toiletstotitles@gmail.com. So you can send that to PayPal as well. So just moments away from that $50 giveaway as well. But I do want to dip back into the what I'm now calling the playoff bubble teams. So these are teams that either just made it into the playoffs or just right outside of the playoffs, and maybe might be in that same situation headed into next year if they can't get the right amount of help in the draft. So we're going to start with pick number 20. The Pittsburgh Steelers. I said that they needed a wide receiver, maybe a DB, or inside offensive lineman like a guard center, and then maybe a defensive end or edge. So who do you got going to the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Okay, so just real quick. So we're not going to do just within reach of title opportunity teams.
Oh, did I skip one? Oh, I did skip down because I messed up on my plugs here. So yeah, you're right. You're right. So just within reach of title. So these are the guys, these are the teams that made the playoffs that were kind of like, great job. You had a great season. You make the playoffs.
They're not elite.
Now you're one and done. But they could potentially have a run at a title if they make the right moves in the draft. All right. You're right. Mm-hmm. So let's go Buccaneers, 26th pick, center, guard, edge, or defensive back. Who did you go with?
I thought, listen, this is a deep class, so I realize you needing two offensive linemen. They could easily go center, well, they can go interior offensive lineman here. I think they can get that in the second round. So I'm going to give them, if this player falls to them, and there's a chance if this player falls to them, to the Buccaneers at pick number 26, you want to run to the podium and put that pick in, because this is Chop Robinson, edge out of Penn State. I love Penn State talent. High-end, high-energy players, and that's what Chop Robinson is. I'm just going to read from my notes real quick. Incredible burst offline at the snap. He is a high-energy, high-motor player. This guy is nonstop. It reminds me of kind of like Micah Parsons. He's got a nice combo: burst, energy, speed, strength, and that's athleticism. He's got a good size. So I didn't put his size, like his metrics in here in my notes. But off the top of my head, he's a nice size edge player. And he'd be a beast. Todd Bowles. I think the Buccaneers are fine on the offensive side of the ball, except for plugging some holes in the offensive line. I can see Todd Bowles wanting to add some new young blood to the defensive side of the ball, and if they can get Chop Robinson, that is a fantastic pick for them.
I like it. The Packers pick 25. I said offensive line. And then I said more offensive line, and then maybe some secondary help if you absolutely needed another option, but doesn't look like you needed another option.
Yeah, no, I'm giving them, and I think this is actually a guy who should be there at pick 25. I don't think he should. I don't think he should be making it out of the first round. I see him a lot of times. That's Patrick Paul out of Houston, University of Houston, and a lot of times I see him going like in the middle of the second round. I think he's a first-round talent. I don't think he's going to make it out of the first round. I think pick 25 for the Packers, who do need quite a bit of offensive line, including offensive tackle, is a perfect fit for them. 6'7", 307 pounds. He's strong and long, a good pass protector, and an equally good run blocker. Good technique. Still has room. He's a little raw. Still has some room for growth in the NFL. But I like his polish coming out of Houston. And I think his ceiling is really, really high. I see most mocks have him, like I said before, they have him going in the second or even third round, surprisingly. But I think he's a sneaky first-round pick for an offensive line needy team, and that is definitely Green Bay. And I love the guy. I think Coach is really, really high on him, even higher than I am. But I do love him, and I think pick 25 is perfect.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Coach, because no matter what, I was going to make sure we got to the next pick in honor of Coach. Pick 24, the Cowboys. And I know Coach isn't with us tonight because he had to wash his hair tonight. But I do know that he intends on going back and re-listening to this episode later on when he's at the tattoo parlor later this week. Because, you got to have something to listen to while you're getting new ink. Yeah. So while he's getting that new fresh ink, he'll get to listen to you talk about the player that they should draft in the first round with that pick 24. I said that they probably need a running back, given that they lost Pollard. Looks like they could use a center with the depth chart that I saw. Maybe some other offensive line help, and then a linebacker, which kind of iffy on the linebacker, but I kind of wanted to give you another option because it is coach's team here. Looks like I didn't need to go that far or that deep. Who did you have the Cowboys drafting?
Yeah, linebacker could be a good call, but I don't really think there are any first round value linebackers in this class. There are some that there are linebackers that I like, but I don't think any are really first round value in this particular class. However, coach, congratulations. I just drafted you offensive center, Jackson Powers Johnson out of Oregon. He's not just the best center prospect in this class. He's probably the best center prospect over the past few years. He's a polished and nasty trench player, plug and play, high IQ. This guy is, like I said, he's plug and play. He's ready to go. And people are very ecstatic about this guy. I don't even know if he necessarily makes it to the Cowboys, but I do think it's realistic because I think other people are going to be focused on other teams who are offensive line needy are going to be focused on the plethora of talented tackles in this first round and some of the guards as well. So he could sneak down to the Cowboys, and the Cowboys will, I know coach would be so psyched. I know he loves Jackson Powers Johnson. And so congratulations, coach. You got yourself a good player. I got you a good player.
There you go. Well, and hopefully they listen to you, the Cowboys. So, well, not hopefully for you. You're a Giants fan.
They know what they're doing. They draft very well.
The Browns at pick 54. I said linebacker would be a good spot to go here. Maybe offensive line depth. I know they have a decent starting offensive line, but they don't have much depth there. And then a defensive tackle. So where did you go with the Browns pick at 54?
Okay, I took a guy who's one of my favorite players in this draft. I can't really say he's a sleeper anymore because he has been screaming up the mock draft boards.
Because people are listening to you.
Absolutely. And linebacker, this actually would have been, I almost gave him a linebacker, but I'm like, I love this guy too much. I'm going to give him to Cleveland. I think they're going to want to, continue to build their defense, even though they could use some offensive weapons. And the linebacker would have been a perfect spot at pick number, pick number 54. However, I went with, give me a second to pronounce this. It's defensive tackle out of Clemson, Rook Orororo. It sounds like Scooby-Doo is trying to pronounce something, but Rook Orororo. And that is how it's pronounced. I've heard people call his first name Rook A. I've heard Rook. I believe it's Rook, but Rook Orororo, a defensive tackle out of Clemson. This is my sleeper alert. He is the most athletic interior defensive lineman of the draft. Like I said, he's been screaming up the draft boards. 6'4", 294 pounds, high motor, powerful, long, freak athlete for his size with a 9.88 RAS, a raw athletic score, and that's out of 10, of course. He ran a 4.89 40-yard dash, which was fourth best for an interior defensive lineman, 24. For a guy his size, that's really big. 29 bench press. So he was one of the leaders. I think the highest might have been 31 bench presses. 30. I think the highest was 31. Was 31 reps, and I think that was Jared Verse, who we're going to get to in a little while. But he had 29 reps on the bench press. He gets through gaps in the pass. He seals gaps in the run. Effectively plays all techniques, including the 5 tech. And this is another reason why I like him. Again, he effectively plays all techniques, including the 5 tech, which is where you're setting up as the edge outside of the tackle. So you can move this guy around the line. He's that good of an athlete. This guy doesn't have like any hanging fat. He's really just more of like a beefed up defensive end. But I love this guy. And if he's there, he probably will be there at pick 54. I could see Cleveland. I think he'd be a perfect fit on Cleveland.
Yep, there you go. Ruh-roh Raggy, we're sending you to Cleveland. So that is one clip that I need to get from you, Joe. I need to clip that out somehow. I've never heard somebody say, I love this guy so much, I'm sending him to Cleveland. Like, if you love a guy, you don't send him to Cleveland.
Browns fans will love him.
I'm just kidding. I got you. All right. I know I like the pick there, and you've talked him up there, so I might have to seek him out in the IDP rookie dynasty draft that we're going to be doing shortly after the NFL draft. We're going to be doing it live right here on the channel.
And he'll be playing on a good defense,
Yeah. Yep. There you go. And with a quarterback I despise that I hope throws a lot of interceptions, so he's going to be out on the field a lot. The Eagles pick 22. I said they need a guard, maybe an offensive line depth, maybe a cornerback. Where'd you go with this one? And by the way, I chose this guy also for another team in the mock draft. So I also kind of like this guy.
Oh, yeah, Nate Wiggins. And Coach, this is another player that Coach loves. Pick number 22, Philadelphia Eagles. I gave him cornerback Nate Wiggins, and I think it's realistic that Wiggins can be there. He's got really nice size. He's not heavy. He's only 173 pounds. He might have beefed up to 180 pounds. So he's not a heavy guy, but he's 6'1", tall with elite closing speed and long speed to play with the burner wide receivers. So you're not going to see him really get toasted by any wide receivers. He's going to be catching up to a lot of them from behind if need be. He's very good at the quick. He's a quick route diagnoser. If that's even a word, he's very quick at route diagnosing, and he's excellent at breaking up passes with his back to the ball. So most cornerbacks are always coached to, eventually got to, look back, you look for the ball. So you're not interfering with the receiver. He's very good at waiting for the last second, watching the receiver's eyes and hands getting ready to catch, and and swiping the ball away, breaking up the pass. He's an excellent athlete, and I think they're going to want to build it up. He's going to want to beef up their defense as well.
All right, so the last team I have that's in that area of just within reach of the title opportunity is the Miami Dolphins at pick 21. Guard, tackle, edge, and safety is what I wrote down. Who would you like to see the Dolphins take with this pick?
Dolphins at pick 21 are in prime position to pick from a slew of very good offensive tackles. And I'm giving them offensive tackle Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma. 6'7", 322 pounds, big and long, but athletic and light-footed, excellent in pass protection. He's good in the run game as well, but he's excellent in the pass protection. In my opinion, that's what Tua needs, given that his history of concussions, injuries, other injuries, and his size. So Tyler Guyton is, I think, perfect for the Dolphins. And like I said, they'd have a slew to choose from at this point, but I think Tyler Guyton would be, perfect at pick 21. Plug and play. Oh, I think you're on mute. Oh,
yeah, what do you say we do one of my favorite things of all time, which is to give away some of Coach's money here. So since he's not on the show, it's even easier.
Let's give it away, baby.
All right, so here's the list of – oh, shoot, I need to get rid of that. I always forget about that when we have a wheel. There we go. All right, so here's the wheel. It has all – I still have the March Madness thing up there, but this show is not brought to you by Wonka, but if the makers of Wonka are out there watching, it's toiletstitles@gmail.com. You're welcome to float us a little cash, and I'll even buy the CD or the DVD if they still make DVDs. Let's see. So I'm going to shuffle this 3 times. This was for our Twitter handle, guys. This is why you need to follow us on Twitter. So we're going to be doing more of these giveaways on a more regular basis. And it's and when I say Twitter, obviously, I mean the artist formerly known as Twitter. It's X now, whatever. But all you had to do was like the comment, retweet the comment, and then comment that you did all of that in the comments of our post that simply said, hey, come and take this $50 Fanatics gift card. So this is for Fanatics. Here's the thing about Fanatics and this Fanatics gift card. They are one of our affiliates on toiletstitles.com. So if you're looking to buy a gift card for somebody else, you got Mother's Day and Father's Day are coming up here pretty soon around the corner. You want to get a little gift card for somebody coming up, go to our website, find the Fanatics link in the affiliates, click on that, purchase the gift card. You'll help us out. You get a little bit off if you actually buy a product as well. You get a percentage off of your products that you're purchasing. If you want to buy yourself a nice hat, a nice jersey, or whatever on fanatics.com, just go through our affiliate link first. But without any further ado, let's shuffle this 3 times and get ourselves our winner. I did take off anybody that's officially on the team. Just because this is
good luck to everyone.
Yeah, here we go. It's Tieback. That's at Tieback. I believe there were a couple numbers at the end of that. I'll go back and double check the tweet. But Tyback, if you're watching this, congratulations to you. We will reach out to you on Twitter and let you know what we got to do to get that over to you. But congratulations to you, Tyback, on the big win. Hope you get yourself something nice.
Congratulations, Tyback.
All right, Joe. So we're only going to go through a few more of these, just because we are a little bit pressed for time here. But I do at least
I'm
want
going to go through them real quick.
You want to do that?
I'm going to go through them real quick. All right.
Okay.
So
All right.
Steelers, these are the playoff bubble teams. Steelers pick number 20. Wide receiver, cornerback, interior offensive line, edge. I gave the Steelers cornerback / safety Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. 6'3", 203 pounds. Obviously, he can play cornerback and safety. Excellent route reader, and he's excellent at reading the QB's eyes. Good athleticism. Well-rounded secondary player who can play the run. He's a sure tackler. He may be my favorite cornerback. He's probably my favorite defensive back in the draft. I love his versatility. I think he's got Pittsburgh Steeler written all over him. Rams, pick number 19. They need cornerback, edge, defensive line, and kicker. This is my favorite edge in the class, and that's Jared Verse out of Florida State. 6'3", 254 pounds. High motor, looks like he's blasted out of cannon off the line of scrimmage as soon as the ball snapped. He's powerful, strong, and quick. He can beat the tackle with a bull rush or blow right by them on the inside. He's got great speed. He's a refined edge coming out of college. Very athletic. He had ran a 4.58 40-yard dash at the combine with a 1.6 seconds 10-yard split, 35-inch vertical, which is very good, a 10-foot 7-inch broad jump, which is very good, and 31 bench reps, which I believe he had the most amount of bench reps at the combine this year. Bengals pick number 18. Oh, go ahead.
In other words, the guy is an alien.
Yes. And that's why I love him so much.
Roger.
Pick number 18, the Bengals. They need offensive line depth. Absolutely, they do. Linebacker, wide receiver. I'm protecting Joe Burrow. I'm giving them offensive tackle Troy Fontenot out of Washington. He's a polished player, 6'3", 317 pounds. He's listed as an offensive tackle. He may be one of those tackles who's who might be moved to might be better served going to guard. But I think this guy is going to succeed at tackle. I know most experts are projecting him at guard, but I think he's going to give him great versatility. I do think he'll survive, that he'll play well at tackle in the NFL, but he's polished, athletic, powerful, violent, and he has excellent hands. He always knows what to do with his hands, always moving his hands. He shocks players with his hands, is always getting his hands on the defensive players at the right time. He plays with great leverage and anchor. And like I said, he should provide offensive line flexibility at tackle and guard.
So he's a handsy guy.
He's a hands-on guy, and he knows how to use them. And last but not least, the Jaguars, pick 17. Needs are offensive tackle, offensive guard, wide receiver, cornerback, and defensive line. They have too many needs on the offensive line for me to ignore. And at pick 17, like some of these other teams that are picking from 15 to 25, you're going to have a slew of offensive line players to pick from. I'm giving them Amarius Mims out of Georgia, who I'm not saying he will, but he may wind up being the best offensive tackle in this historic class of offensive linemen. He doesn't have the thing about him is that he doesn't have the number of games played that the other highly ranked offensive tackles have. He really was supposed to start in 2022, his junior year, but he got injured. And then he played last year, and he was excellent. He was lights out. He's a massive human being. He's 6'7", 340 pounds. He's big. He's not a 340-pound sloppy. He's big but not fat. He's actually really big at 6'7". He's a really big, fairly athletic offensive tackle. He's got strength, length, athleticism. He's excellent in pass protection, and he is a road grader in the run game. This guy is going to need some seasoning. He may look kind of messy like his rookie season, or at least the first half of his rookie season, but his ceiling is sky high. He does have experience in both left tackle and right tackle, but like I said, he really doesn't have all that many games played altogether at Georgia. And he plays like a lighter player out there in space. getting to the next level and run support. So you hear 6'7", 340 pounds, you might be thinking this guy's like a big mountain plodding player. That's not him at all. He's actually pretty light on his feet. It's surprising to watch him play, but I love him. I think he's a great pick. And Jaguars, they definitely need help in that offensive line. And Amarius Mims, he's the man.
And we've got our man Wicked in the green room that's just dying to say something here. So Wicked, what do you got for us?
Looking for a place to connect with fellow fantasy football fanatics? Well, look no further than our Gilded server. Join the Title Tribe, where you can chat, strategize, and debate about all things football. Whether you're swapping lineup advice, discussing the latest trades, or fearlessly defending your favorite player, our Gilded server is the perfect spot to hang out with like-minded fans. Our Gilded server is free to join, and the link can be found in the video description or on our website at toiletstotitles.com. We look forward to seeing you in the tribe. Are you ready to take over your fantasy leagues and become a champion? Get the edge you need and join the Toilets to Titles Patreon today to get exclusive access to our T2T staff, weekly waiver wire shows, and Patreon exclusive leagues like our signature Frankenstank League. Members enjoy other amazing benefits such as monthly giveaways featuring autographed jerseys, collectibles, Yeti coolers, and more. Sign up now for as little as $9.99 per month and dominate your fantasy leagues like never before. Visit patreon.com/toilets to titles and let us help take your teams to the championship this season.
All right, Joe. So thank you very much, Wicked. We appreciate you chiming in real quick. Joe, I believe it's all we have time for. We try to keep this at 45 when we can. But you do have two more. I'm going to tease those for our Patreon. So if you would, what I'd like for you to do after the show is just copy and paste that, or I can do it if you'd like. We can just post it directly to the Patreon chat only in the Gilded. Okay. So Wicked just talked to us about the Gilded. He told us all about the Gilded. Now, if you want to be Patreon only within that Gilded and get some of these tidbits of information that we only send to the Patreons, well, then you want to join the Patreon, just like Wicked said, patreon.com/toilets to titles, and we'll get you all set up with all the different perks, with all the different tiers that we've got there. So Joey, man, I greatly appreciate you coming on. Sometimes whenever myself or Coach can't make it, we get a little bit nervous about trying to find a fill-in guy. You stepped up, you volunteered like very short in the search, and then did an incredible job. Like, you didn't even really have to research for this because you already knew what you knew and what you liked about the players. So absolutely love the knowledge. And we really appreciate you, Joey.
No, thanks for having me on, man. It's been great being on with you, and I'm looking forward to our next Fun Day draft, which I think is April 9th, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. So speaking of which, if we're going to talk about it, we may as well talk about it, right? So the Fun Day Draft Show is where we draft random stuff. It's not NFL or football in general at all. And this time it's actually April 6th. We're going to go on April 6th at 9 p.m. and we're doing a bank heist with actors and actresses. So not their characters. Like, you're not drafting the Oceans guy from Ocean's 11. You're actually drafting George Clooney. So what role is George Clooney? Is he going to be your getaway driver?
Mastermind?
Is he going to be the mastermind? Yeah, the safe cracker. Mm-hmm. Like I don't know, like the inside guy. You know, maybe you need George Clooney to be the banker on the inside. I think he might be noticed. But those are the things that we're going to discuss on the Fun Day Draft on April 6th. So anyhow, so for Joe, I'm Justin. This has been Toilets to Titles. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.